All right, so let me know how many of you guys can relate to this, but whenever I'm picking up toys after a long day or just cleaning up one of the rooms or doing the dishes, I typically try to put on a YouTube video to either pass the time or to just listen to it as background, just more for the commentary than anything else. So I did my best to envision me doing the dishes and picking a YouTube video. So I'm going to be brief on the front end here, so that way a beat can just play. And if you happen to be looking at some clips, then more power to you. I really appreciate that. If you guys stick around and you like this type of stuff, please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. So this is going to be a compilation of just some short, medium, and long range ghillie sniping, as well as a whole bunch of spring mines. I've been having a lot of fun getting the initial elimination and then running all the way over, throwing a couple spring mines down, and when they inevitably come back from the gulag, they have a nasty surprise waiting for them, especially in the casuals playlist. I've noticed that the majority of my eliminations in the medium to longer range sniping is almost exclusively all to other players as well, simply because if you guys have played the casuals mode, you know there are bots just kind of running aimlessly, which on a complete side note is fantastic for real-time aim training, in that you don't really get these opportunities to kind of track a target or to learn the bullet velocity of the sniper rifle that you're trying to use, especially when you're doing the standard VR. It's a little difficult to kind of gauge that or even put yourself in that position, when in contrast, when you have the casuals mode, you can effectively go in there with this one thing in mind and you can execute it, and you can get a bunch of repetitions, if you will. I'm using air quotes when I say that. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun with it, and I'm going to stop talking. I'll talk to you guys a little bit towards the end, simply because I had another audio desync issue. Yeah, so my monkey brain doesn't really understand this, but I know that I can reliably get synced audio and sound effect now in the actual game. So it just comes at the expense of having to turn off all microphone input into the recording session itself. So in order to get live commentary now, I now have to use my wireless microphone and then use the app on my phone and then just set that next to my current microphone so that way we can still get the live commentary. So a couple of steps for me, but it shouldn't make a difference for you guys, obviously, because you guys are watching it. So yeah, no, I appreciate you guys just kind of for sticking around. I've had a lot of fun just playing in a different play style, and it's just been so rewarding because it's fresh and exciting, but it's also with a very familiar map. So again, I urge you guys to really just play in a well, you can play however you want, but if you are looking to just mix it up, especially before the implementation and blackout, is to really just play a completely different play style as to what you would normally do. And the best way I can actually compare this to is the stealth archer build in Skyrim, the meme always being that all roads lead back to stealth archer. I've actually done a couple of playthroughs, and I've had so much fun playing a very old game a completely different way, in that, for example, it's a two-handed heavy armor battle mage, the exact opposite to your stealth archer. So in that, I typically, translating this over to the Call of Duty space, I typically run around with an LMG and I shoot through all of the soft cover that you can think of, just being as loud as possible. And this past, I want to say, year, or whenever Verdansk came back, is when I started doing the Ghillie sniping, simply because I played this map. It was so fun to play the map again for the first time, after a couple of years. But it got stale quick, and this has been a really fun way to keep it fresh for me because there's a ton of cover. Yeah, guys, I had a lot of fun editing that, especially at the end with the bass drop and the explosion. Thanks again. Have a good one.